Hello, everyone. I am really excited that you're here for the second part of our conversation about emotional healing and the first steps for women to take. This is Katie. We're back with Katie.
Hello.
So, Katie, can you go over your credentials one more time, and then we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, so I'm a licensed clinical social worker as well as a certified therapeutic recreation specialist, an intuitive coach, and a Reiki master. It's a mouthful, but I offer all those things and what I consider to be healing work. So, and I do own the Lean In Therapeutics LLC.
Fantastic. So this is a good opportunity for us to hear from you on, I know you've helped a lot of people already with their process, and you've been on your own process, and we've been friends talking through the process. So this is going to be a way to help other people. So today we're talking about the daily 1% and how you can integrate habits to rewire your brain. So when we're talking about emotional healing, we mentioned in the first class, there's not a magic button you push. It's not an instant fix. There's not like the one thing that you have to do. The one thing is the 1%. It's this daily 1% of the habits that you choose for your life that literally rewire your brain to be in this healed mode. Is what literally takes us up the scale, which you'll get to see actually like a literal graph on it soon. But let's dive in. Katie, I would love to hear from you about habits. We know they're so important, but what does that mean to you? What are habits?
Well, it's like you were saying before, rewiring your brain. We have our brain that already has these neural pathways going on, and from all the things we've been doing all our lives. And so these new habits that we start to establish start to create new pathways. And it's important that we're doing those small steps every day to create those new pathways. And so it's the little things that we do repetitively. Yeah. Those are the habits that we're forming.
One thing that actually just came to mind, something that I have to remind myself, we'll be talking about, some more tools, but there's so much negativity. Negativity has become a habit. Being stressed out has become a habit, a mainstream habit, an expectation almost.
Yes.
And it takes, I heard 9 positive influences, thoughts, ideas, words to balance out 1 negative.
Well, and that's like the gratitude, right? And finding things that you're grateful for every day, so that you can start to look for those things.
It takes practice to undo, like you were saying, we've already had our brain trained one way. So it's going to take a lot of repetition and habits to.
Well, and those old neural pathways, they don't go away. The goal is to create new ones over those, but it is going to be consistency and keeping at it, because those old ones are always going to be there to try and creep back in. So we want to be stronger than them, right?
Right. That's a really good, and we talked about last time how you're going to come back to the same lessons and be able to approach them from a different perspective in a stronger way. And this is, I love that. The neural pathways that go over, the other ones never go away.
Right. No, they're always kind of there in the background, but we want to keep them in the background and have these stronger, more positive, healthier ones in the forefront.
So keeping in mind that what you repeat and give energy to grows.
Yes.
We plant the seeds, we water, we have sunlight, right? And what you repeat and give energy to grows. So if you're choosing, and in this path of emotional healing, I know it's easy to say, I'm depressed. I have anxiety. I've been in a funk, and to repeat that over and over to yourself, or like to say that,
it's just going to give you that. You're just going to find yourself in a funk and
just stuck in the
mud.
So
putting out what you want.
Yes. So if we are always looking ahead and thinking of where we want to go, and we repeat that, right? Like, I am successful. I'm full of energy. I am happy. I am joyful. When I was in the depths of I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but one of the most funny quote unquote affirmations I had pinned up on my wall during one of my deepest depression was I radiate joy and light, which was just,
Yes.
I was like literally in a cave under the covers. Like,
Well, and you can take like a dry erase marker and write those on your mirrors or put
Yeah.
them where you can see them, so that those affirmations also are bringing positive energy. It all carries energy.
Yeah.
And so wanting to have that positive energy in our forefront, right in our vision.
And those reminders, I mean, we need that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So choosing what you want to give energy to. We were just talking about this beforehand with like when things come up, you can
Yeah.
choose to get really upset about them or give your energy to
Exactly.
something else.
Or where do I want to put my energy? Right.
Yeah. Cool. So it actually takes 21 consistent days to form a habit. So sometimes people give something a try and it doesn't work a couple
Right.
times.
We have to keep doing it. And it is, I mean, even the small things count. So, and it's going to be, and start with one thing, start with one thing and build on that. And honestly, when I started this journey, the doing that one thing, moving my body every day, for instance, well, it made me want to drink the water. So even though I didn't choose to have the water being the thing that I was gonna do, moving my body made me want to do that. And then it made me want to eat healthy. So the other things will follow. You just need to pick one thing and go for that. The other ones will come.
Yes. And consistently doing it to form that habit. When you
Yes.
you can form a habit in 21 days, and if you want to turn it into a lifestyle, then it's 90 days at least. And that's so essential for the things that we're going to be talking about here, like choosing the one thing, right? Everything that we're going to dive into in just a second is we want you to feel empowered that it's simple. This is not a giant undertaking. You don't need 10,000 oils and 18 courses. Like, some simple things that are free, that are accessible to everyone, that are easy for you to start with that one thing. And like Katie said, it's going to add on the next thing and the next thing. And it's going to accumulate into this beautiful new lifestyle that you have where you're feeling more emotional freedom.
Exactly.
So,
And
sorry, go ahead.
no, proving to yourself that you can do it, right? Making a promise to yourself. So that's what it's about. And I'm doing, Rachel Hollis every year does a last 90-day challenge. So it's ending the year in the best way that you can, instead of crapping all your goals during all these holidays, right? Where we have these feasts, starting with Halloween, right? Like, so we make promises to ourselves, and they're small things. And so like for this month, I'm not eating fast food.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I won't ever eat fast food again, but it's to prove to myself I can do it.
Yeah. I think that was one of the key nuggets that I took away from her first book. Not her first book, but Girl Wash Your Face, was like, keep a promise. Like I mean, that was huge. You know, like how many times do we say we're going to do something and then not, and not to beat anyone up about it, but that wears on us.
Exactly.
You know, like it wears on us to be like, you know, I said I would, but I don't know if I really would. So we want it to be really simple things so that you can practice one, doing something consistently, but also, Katie, thanks for bringing that up. Also practice keeping a promise to yourself, being committed to yourself, because that's one of the key skills that you need ongoing is commitment to yourself.
Yes.
So I want to ask here, so get out your notebooks, right? This is where you are writing down. This is some of your homework. Katie talked about in the first class that there's work after these sessions that you have to do. It can't all be given. It's definitely coming from within. So what habits do you want to start now? And what kind of life do you want to have in 90 days? If you aren't sure on the habits yet, that's what we're going to dive into. But start visualizing what kind of life do you want to have in 90 days? Like Katie's saying, there's Halloween, there's Thanksgiving, there's all the holiday season is coming up, and it's going to be New Year's resolution time really soon. So,
and did we talk about this in the first video too, that you have to have a why? You
Mhm.
have to know why you're doing this. Why do you want to do this? And yes, in 90 days, but also my why, Jen, goes to where do I want to be in 5 years, 10 years? Like, what do I want my life to look like? And I have to have a strong enough why that when I don't feel like getting up and moving my body, I can pull from it.
Yeah.
And I need to remember that, as Rachel Hollis even says, nobody's going to care about my why more than me. So
Mhm.
it has to be, it's personal. It's my personal why. And it's up here.
And it's what pushes us, because it can't be, let's say, I want to lose weight so that, I don't know, so I can run around with my kids more, right? Or like, because my kids want me to
Yeah.
do this stuff,
Well,
right?
that's part of mine. I want to keep up with my kids.
Right. That's a big one. But if it's just, there can be two levels of why, right? Like that's the supposed to, there could be the supposed to of that. I should lose weight so I can do these things with my kids, or the deep desire. Maybe for some
Yes.
people it's just this level, but for some people it may be like, I gotta get out there with my kids. Like something's missing if you're not doing it, like the
Yes.
why is the fire that keeps you going. So make sure that it is for you and
Yeah.
not
What's your
somebody.
personal why? Because that's part of this. So that's part of what I'd love for people to explore also.
Yeah. So wherever you're at in the emotional journey, like Katie's saying, if you can think farther in advance, right? 5 years down the road, 10 years, who is that woman? What is she like? What is her life like? And what are the steps that get me there? It's not an instant, like just one day someone's going to drop this lifestyle in your hand. What are the steps to get you there? But I know that there have been times, even last year, where people were asking me my plans. So last year for me, I had severe anxiety, severe depression. What are your plans, Jen? And I couldn't see past next week.
Yeah.
It was, sometimes you can't see that far ahead. So if 90 days is too long for you, maybe maybe that's your long point, maybe it's your short point. Look as far in advance as you can and keep that in mind, and think about, and what about tomorrow? Right? Like what
Right.
about today and what about tomorrow? So try and link those up in what kind of life you want. That's your journaling. So let's dive into it. Katie, can you talk to us about some of the smallest, easiest habits that someone can start that have the biggest impact in that daily 1% growth?
I just started with walking.
Mhm.
Honestly, that was my first. I walked every day, and it can be 15 minutes at a time. Even it doesn't even, if 30 minutes is not something you can do, then do 15. I mean, I think that the thing that people think is like self-care needs to be an hour long. It doesn't. It can be sitting for 3 minutes and practicing some deep breathing. It can be doing a 5-minute meditation. It can be doing the gratitude journal. Honestly, many mornings I'll think to myself, I don't have time for this. And then I think, Katie, it only takes you 2 minutes. You have time. So I think it's reminding myself of that. Um, putting the phone in my room, right? And not being on it. And like whatever it is for you, like to be able to start to practice some of these small things and know that the small efforts count. They absolutely count. And they build on each other.
One thing I want to mention there that you're saying, like leaving your phone in another room, like having some time where you are really disconnected from your phone or technology is
Mhm.
so important. That's one of the smallest habits, because you're not necessarily needing to do something. You're just going to not do something. And
Yeah.
sometimes it can go either way of what's easier at the time. But if you
Well,
can,
I also want to say though that for some people, the idea of taking something away is too overwhelming. So
Mm,
add something, add water, add a vegetable, add something.
that's a really good point. Yeah. Depending on where someone's at. Right. But the screens, I will say, like if you find yourself, especially in feelings of depression or anxiety, like definitely that stuff, or if you're easily triggered by things, scrolling through your feed is not going to help that
No.
situation. As if you found this through Facebook, I'm super glad you were scrolling through your feed, right? Super glad. That's a
Right.
good
Exactly.
but for the most part, we want to be really mindful with our social media use as well. And um, we'll probably talk about on the next session, we'll be talking more about boundaries and supportive community. But just know that you can unfollow people. That's a wonderful feature. You can unfriend people. You can even disconnect the app so that you actually have to go on the website, right? There's these little things that you can do to help yourself.
I turned off the notifications on my phone,
Turning off
so I don't get the constant notifications anymore. And that one step was recommended to me, and it's made a huge difference. So
Yeah, and because we've found that as people's social media use has increased, so have anxiety and depression and comparison, especially among women.
technology use, and I will say that one of my habits over the prior to getting back on track with this last 90-day challenge was that I was waking up in the morning, grabbing my phone and laying in bed and scrolling through social media. And before I know it, an hour or more had passed.
Right.
That was an hour I could have been moving. I could have done all these things for myself. And then I felt shame about it, right? Like, and then so my new habit is I don't even grab my phone in the morning until after, unless I'm doing my movement from an app on my phone or
Yeah.
using my music, but I stay off social media in the morning now.
Yeah. It's totally that morning suck in of the
Mhm.
social media. It really
Yeah.
it starts your day differently, like so for me, I do have a lot of notifications and like people I need to respond to. So I can get caught in the scroll while I'm doing those things, or it's just like diverting my attention the wrong way to
Yes.
helping other people first before I have said my gratitude.
No. Yeah. Put yourself first.
I've done all of the things that I need to do to make sure that I'm even responding from a good space,
Yes.
So social media, taking that down, but you mentioned a walk also. And if you can
Get outside
go
if you can.
outside, like go outside, especially right now it's autumn. So before it gets super cold, like when it's
Yeah.
this perfect hoodie weather and it's not hot outside, it's a perfect walking weather, there's colors changing. Go outside.
Well,
And
here in New Mexico, it's still in the 80s in the afternoon. So
we're still in the 80s, but it's like all the colors are changing.
yeah.
And then as soon as the sun goes down, it's cold. But get outside because you can walk on a treadmill, right? Or you can do an indoor bike or something like that, or walk at a gym, but there's nothing like being outside because you get so much insight from that.
Yes.
There's so much other, whether you're doing it with earbuds in and listening to something, or you're just walking, you get so much insight from the breeze, from the way your feet feel on the ground, from animals, from, all that. And I would say if you're brave enough to take off your shoes, it's even better. If you can
Yeah.
ground yourself, even when I'm
Absolutely.
on technology a lot in the days where I have like this afternoon, I have calls afternoon. I'll take those calls walking barefoot in my front yard. I just pace the lawn. So my neighbors probably think I'm crazy, but I need to like stay grounded and keep moving and be in nature because it has such a therapeutic benefit and it's free.
Yes.
It's free to everyone. So walks, and you mentioned hydration before. That's a big one. I think that most people are
Dehydrated
all of the time. It's become one of those negative habits that's just kind of been integrated, right? So water, drink that, right? Our bodies are 70% water. So at least 50% of our water, 50% of our weight in ounces of water a day, right? But aim for 70, just kind of keep that in mind.
Well, if you're working out, if you're somebody who works out a lot, then you need to be drinking more than that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it just helps with the emotional stuff so much. I always think of it as like really flushing out, allowing myself to detoxify, like giving myself the fluid motion to be like adaptable and allow good things to come to me.
yes.
Like to be cleansed and ready for that. So hydration and walking and limiting social media have giant impacts. And anything else that you are thinking of, write that down. And we'd love to hear it in the notes section too, in the comment section. We want to hear that and have this be a discussion, because all of the diverse input of everyone who's doing these things helps strengthen everyone else.
Right.
You may
Yeah, I'd
get
love
a
to
little
hear
bit
like what's
like
one small habit that you could start even today.
one thing. One
Mhm.
thing. So this is a joke. Katie's like, Jen, what are you? You're basically a houseplant with more complicated emotions. Like sometimes
Right.
the core of taking care of ourselves is like drink water, get some sunshine, make sure you have some like good soil to move in. You're good. But you do need that water and sunshine or you're gonna wilt. You're just gonna wilt.
Well, in all seriousness, too, how many people take care of their plants more than they take care of themselves?
You're like, just saying.
Just saying.
Right.
So
Like sometimes it's so think about, I say, think about yourself like that, like your plants.
we nurture everybody else.
And the daily habits of taking care of a plant. Some indoor plants you don't need to water, for a long time, but think about a garden. If I don't water my garden for a day, I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see
So
it right
think
away.
about what's happening in your body.
Right.
Exactly. Especially those of us who live in the desert.
Yeah. Or even think about all like the interference that can be in our life, right? We've had a lot of wildfires and not just here, all over. And the air quality is so poor. Like even my plants, they couldn't breathe and they started
Yes.
to wilt from that. So think about what's in your environment. What's the air that you're breathing? What's the water that you're using for yourself? What kind of light are you being exposed to? It's all these filters and choices that that you get to make along the way.
Yeah.
It's like a slightly better, if you can opt for like good or better, just keep opting for better in like each situation. Like it's going to help
Exactly.
that 1%. Okay. Here we go. So yeah, Katie, I'll let you take it away.
Well, I think it goes back to what we're talking about. Not every day needs to be 100%. It's how can you just take steps to be better every day? What are your goals? And it goes back to those small steps. Be committed, be gentle with yourself, be kind with yourself. If today was a hard day and you weren't able to get up and do those things, okay, so today was a hard day. So tomorrow you get up and you go again and you keep trying and you keep moving, but don't give up. And it is, again, goes back, increasing repetition of the healthier habits you want, decrease those you don't want. The reality is that by increasing the ones you do want, you're not going to have time for the ones you don't want anymore. So I increased my water. I used to drink soda. That was my main drink. I maybe, if I have one, I have one a day, but not until I get all my water in. I get my water in first. And I just don't have room in my body or in my day to drink the other stuff. And frankly, I do mostly tea and water these days. But so I think that as you increase the healthy, the not healthy will automatically decrease.
Yeah.
So
And if you mentioned a second ago, like if you miss a day or like one day feels off or something, right? You keep going,
right.
but also
If I only got 80 ounces in today, right? Like I got 80 ounces in today.
That's the thing, right? Like, so
it was a hard day.
was great. And flip it. Like, what did I do that was awesome? I'm on track, right? We're always thinking I'm on track. I'm moving ahead. I'm feeling better every day. And if we get down on like, but today was only 80 ounces. No, I stayed on track.
Yes.
Maybe I used to only drink 40 ounces of water, and 80 ounces of soda. Like I'm doing great, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
giving yourself credit for what you do. And as soon as that, I messed up. As soon as that feeling comes in, flip it. Find a way to redirect and flip it into what you did do. Give yourself credit,
Yes.
give yourself a pat on the back, and have gratitude for something. Right in that moment, try and use gratitude.
Well, and say what you want, not what you don't want. So take the not out, because what happens is if I say I'm not going to drink soda, I hear drink soda. I don't hear not. So say what you are going to do. I am going to focus on drinking water today. That's my focus. And I'm going to nourish my body with water. And I'm not even talking about the things I'm not going to do. I'm not putting voice to them. I'm not putting the energy out there. What is the energy I want to put out in front of me?
Increasing the repetition of the healthy habits you want in
Mhm.
practice and in thought, and
Yeah.
decreasing those that you don't want.
Making these statements and creating a commitment that this is what I'm going to do goes further than you think it does.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Everything begins in thought.
mhm.
Everything starts there. So it's huge. So this is a graph of this 1%, the daily 1% that we're talking about. So some people think, 1%, I need to do so much, but think of the one thing that you can start doing today that you're going to keep doing. And then when you're ready, you add on another thing, another thing. So if we can improve by just 1% every day, look at this beautiful chart, right? Then over the course
Yeah.
of the year, we're basically 38% better. That's a
Yeah,
giant.
I am the most consistent, and I've been doing exercise the most consistent this year. October 1st was a year. I did the last 90-day challenge last year, and it is the most consistent I have ever been. And am I hard on myself sometimes? Absolutely. I'm still hard on myself. And then I have to remind myself, look at where you are. Like, yeah, maybe you're not at the end zone yet, but frankly, like, I am so much further than I ever was. And if you had told me that I'd be here today and that drinking my water and exercising and doing these things every day would be easy, um, that, like I said, those neural pathways from the years and years are still there. But I don't, they're quieter. I don't listen to them as much. I am stronger than them and then that voice. I saw a thing the other day that, like, it's important that we be suspicious of that voice in our head, right? Like, and just because that voice is in my head doesn't mean I have to fall for it and believe it. I can make choices.
Empowered choices. Yes.
Yeah. So you'll get there, but it's going to be 1%, one day, one moment at a time.
Good or better,
One,
right? Or it may
yeah.
be crappy or less crappy, right? Like,
Yes.
what can we
Yeah.
do with 1%, right? Because if we do 1% decline, it's not like we crash. So see
Oh
the
yeah. If
inverse
you
of this,
turn it over.
there's not a crash that happens. It's not like 1% worse every day and I'm a bum, right? Like, I
Yes.
don't know. It's this subtle, just missing it right under
Yeah.
the curve that I believe has become the norm.
Yes.
And if you're not seeking to move forward, then you're slowly falling behind.
Those are the lies we tell ourselves. We convince ourselves it's okay if I eat that brownie again today. I know I had one yesterday, and it's okay if I have it, right? Like, that's the trick the brain plays is no, it's okay. Well, no, it's not, and I don't need to do that. Like, I can wait. And
But
so
even
it's
with,
like,
relationships and stuff, that's what I feel like I've seen a lot from the women. Um, I know there's some astrological stuff that's been going on the last month too, but I've been seeing a lot of women be like, I just couldn't make that call. Or I
yeah,
just, sorry, and like these things where women are not showing up for themselves or not showing commitment to themselves. I feel like that's one of the most dangerous
yeah.
declines is the not showing up for yourself,
Well,
not
and feeling alone, and we're not seeking help. So
yeah. Yeah. So this is to say, just get on that 1%, right? It's going to make a giant difference in a year, in 90
yeah.
days, a year. It's huge. Katie, it's funny you're bringing up soda because I remember when we first started talking and I mentioned that and you were like, like this was several years ago because you were still like drinking soda all the time. And that was like,
There was a lot of things when I first started my Reiki class, and everybody was like, I meditate every morning. I get up like at 6 a.m. And I was like, yeah, that'll never be me. And now I got up at
and
6:30
now you're
this
like, it's
morning. And
easy. Yes.
yeah,
But it's
so
this progress. It's this building of the muscle, the building of
yeah.
those pathways. Speaking of muscle, emotional and physical health are directly intertwined. You just mentioned Reiki as well. You mentioned in our first class how essential body work is. We've
Mhm.
talked about walks and grounding. What are some of the most important body work habits that you would suggest for women?
Well, I think you have to find what works for you. So I like Reiki and I like moving my body. Um, I have done some flotation therapy, um, but some people are the yoga is their thing, and so or taking a bath every day is their thing. And so it's what is your thing? What is the thing that resonates for you? I've done some craniosacral. I know people who get a massage once a week or every other week or once a month, whatever. But it is about honoring your body and taking care of it. And so I think that um, I even think that in some ways meditation can be body work, like
Mm.
being meditative. I mean, there are ways that breathing,
For the breath,
right, and
yeah.
moving the breath in and out of your body. And so honestly, like I think that it's really what resonates for you. I would even put the essential oils in body work. So, because it is about honoring my body. So,
The body work, you mentioned last class that you can't do one without the other. Like the body
mhm,
work is essential. And I think that I always go back to extremes, right? So I'm really thinking about the person who is in a depressive funk right now, who's really struggling with anxiety right now. That person, it's the physical step is often so much easier than the emotional step, and it leads to the emotional step.
yes, yeah.
So
But
it's
even
like
if
getting
it's
in the
just go lay
shower
on a
that
massage
day,
table.
right?
Mhm,
Like if getting in the shower that day is a big deal,
mhm,
you feel so much better after you shower, right? Like the whole day changes. Or brushing your teeth. I learned that tip a long time ago, that brushing your teeth is one of the easiest things you can do to switch into a
yeah,
different mindset. Um, so these are tiny hygienic habits, right? But any of these little things that you can do, and or meditation, if you're dealing with anxiety, if you can just focus on your breath for 30 seconds, for a minute, like just tuning in with your body,
mhm,
because our body is our vessel. This body is holding our brain, right? Like the emotions that we have everywhere, they course through our body. And so it's connecting, and it's like tapping back into your reality of like, here you are, here's how, here's what you're creating. Because our cells are always renewing, right? Like we're
yes,
literally creating our bodies all the time. So if you can really tap in with your body, it helps the work. It helps the work so much, because you're not getting stuck just trying to think your way through it, because that's never going to work. And you're not completely avoiding dealing with the emotional stuff if you're incorporating the body work with the emotional healing.
yes,
So um, so definitely start journaling down some of those things, as well as we've been talking about the habits. Make sure that you circle or star a few of those that are physical, that involve body work, and they can be individual, or like Katie's saying, like going and getting a massage or getting Reiki or cranio or flotation, right? If you need to have another person involved, then start planning that out. Gratitude is what has
yeah.
saved me.
Well, and we've talked about this, so but you're going to find what you're looking for. So look for the things today that you can put in a gratitude journal tomorrow. I suggest writing at least 5 things every day.
Mhm.
I start my day with a gratitude journal, but some people end their day. I don't think it matters. I think it's just routine. Find what fits for you. Put your journal near your bed,
Yeah.
and then make the habit to complete it and to look for the things. And there's small things, look for those small things. So
Mhm. What you focus on grows, and eventually, start with 5 things a day. If you just have the one, again, if you're in bed, if you're in the depths of it and you have one thing, one is so much better than none. And then creating the consistent habit, 5 a day, to making it 5 an hour, to making it,
right,
prayers with, my kids we do prayer at dinner time or bedtime or whatever, and they get turns on who gets to say it. And they just thank you, God, for, and I tell them, just go, right? Just go. So
yeah,
sometimes It's always like for our
That's awesome.
family, for our home, for us being healthy. And then sometimes it's like for monster trucks, right? Like they're like really excited about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, just training our brain to do that. It's going to be easier and easier to find. And I recommend, one thing that I do is gratitude riffs, where I'll literally just riff and just like go off on just how many things can I think of that I'm grateful for. And what happens when you do that, Katie, you've probably done this and felt it, is you just,
Oh
the
yeah, you feel
sanity
so much better afterwards, right?
rises.
Like,
I mean, you feel better, but for me, I get, maybe I'm just, spun out, but I spin into this like such high vibration that I'm like dancing and singing by the ends. Like I'm so
yeah,
happy. So gratitude
that's
is the
cool.
fastest way to shift to a positive mindset. As soon as that negative thought comes in, boom, hit it with gratitude. Hit it with gratitude and shift it right away. If you feel a funk come up, maybe it's not something specific that's negative, it's just a funk. Shift to gratitude and it will move you into
Yeah.
the next best thing. So gratitude heals and trains the brain to look for more things to be grateful for. And positive people actually live longer. They have less health issues and better relationships. We've
Yeah.
talked so much about the emotional and physical connection. Katie, like can you give us some examples of physical health conditions tied to emotional stuff?
Oh, all of it.
Well, yeah,
All the
I know.
physical, everything
For the
is tied
viewers,
to our emotionals. Well, the chronic pain, fibromyalgia, I've had people come with back pain, headaches, chronic headaches, a lot of the stuff that's like over and over again. So that I find myself now, when I have a physical pain or something going on, I start to think, okay, what's going on emotionally, right? What can I do to reshift that out? Because so the majority of our physical issues are tied to our emotional piece.
So fibromyalgia is huge. It's one of the
Mhm.
it's one of the highest number. It's the largest growing segment of my new customers for doTERRA essential oils is fibromyalgia.
Yeah,
They're out of options and doctors are referring them to me. They're out of options.
right.
So then it comes to me to say, let's look at everything that's hurting.
Yeah. And it is, this could be a whole other video, but it is go back to your childhood, go back to your family stuff. I mean, we're talking intergenerational trauma too for some people. So I think it is just doing the work, but start small. Start with the thing that you can do. Be where you're at.
Yeah. And especially if you're dealing with chronic issues like that, get in the physical and use the essential oils because they help to connect what you're trying to do. You heal your body and your emotions at the
Yeah.
same time, right? Like if you are sore all over, getting into a super salty Epsom salt essential oil bath, yes, it's going to soothe your muscles and it's going to soothe your heart. It's
Yes.
also
It'll do both.
It'll do both. So definitely gratitude and connecting with what you have. So some of the top habits that we talked about. So this is where you're jotting down, like for sure, what are you going to commit to for 1% for yourself today? Proper hydration, sleep health, getting the sleep that you need. We didn't talk about that much, but it's huge. It's huge. Quick stat on that, just to underline the importance. There was a study done in an inpatient psychiatric hospital with patients who had schizophrenia. And what they did was that, they monitored these patients' behavior and then they regulated their sleep for 30 days, I believe. And all of their delusions went down by about 60% by
huge.
regulating their sleep without any additional drugs or therapeutic things, just regulating their sleep. So it has a giant effect on our physical health and our mental health. Moving your body, we talked a lot about having gratitude as much as you can, as often as you can. Positive affirmations. I have a whole other workshop on this because we've mentioned them, but I love affirmations. So saying what you want, putting focus where you want to go and affirming that over and over again. High quality supplements. is your body getting what it needs? Does it even have the basis of what it needs to form those new cells, to make those new neural pathways? If our body doesn't have the nutrients it needs, it will send up more stress. It's going to have a stress response because it feels neglected.
Yeah.
So more whole foods is always another way to make sure that we're getting what we need for our bodies. And it's another great way to stay grounded and connected to the earth, which also has therapeutic value in itself. So if you can eat more whole foods, grow a garden, that's a whole therapeutic thing on its own. Journaling, a gratitude journal, like Katie mentioned, is a really great idea. Reading. I should have put like reading personal development books, like reading like
Yeah.
health books, because not.
But for some people, you know, whatever is your, you know, if reading is your joy and you haven't been making time for it, whether it's personal development or sci-fi or whatever it is, like
I would say
give yourself,
something to push you that 1%, right?
yeah.
Like, because I know some women, I'm sorry if I offend anyone, but like the romance novels and stuff, like, I don't know if that's really like building up anyone's, your vision for what life's going. So I want to encourage people to choose books that are in line with that. How Katie talked about earlier, where are you in 5 years? Where are
Yeah.
you in 10 years? What is she reading? What is the information that she needs to get to that point? And I would encourage to read something that's going to help build her up. Daily meditation or prayer, elevated self-care rituals. We didn't go into this all the way, but check out, I have a video on aromatic dressing and dry brushing. And this is just like definitely an
Right. So how
elevated.
do you take it to the next step and do more for yourself?
And maybe
Absolutely.
not everything needs to be done this way, ladies, but like, if you have something that you really like to do, right? Like maybe it is brushing your teeth. Okay. Maybe it's brushing your teeth and this is your normal self-care ritual. How can you elevate it a little bit?
Right.
My elevation, I don't actually use my On Guard mouthwash every day. It's my special thing. I don't, it's my elevated brushing of my teeth. I don't always do my aromatic dressing, but it is an elevated way of putting on, instead of just putting on lotion, I'm really being intentional with what I'm doing. So whatever it is in your normal self-care, pick one of those that you can just elevate a little bit and give yourself that treat. And then of course, visualization of where you're going. And Katie, did you mention in the last class that our brain can't tell the difference? Were you telling us that? I think a really serious visualization and reality that our brain.
Oh yeah. So when you're right, our brain can't tell the difference. Yeah, I might have said that. I've heard that too. So just if we can visualize, like if I'm visualizing I'm at the beach, then my body really feels like I'm at the beach. And so
getting deep into it, right? Not just being like, okay, a beach, but like,
oh no, visualizing. I actually have a space that I sit at the beach when I'm at my mom's. And so I visualize sitting on that stone and visualize that scene. And then it does feel like I'm there.
Yeah. And it brings the peace to your body. It strengthens those neural pathways of those peaceful feelings, those memories.
Yeah.
And if you're visualizing something, you're visualizing something maybe where you haven't been before, right? I was visualizing Colorado and this life well before I arrived here, but I could see things. I was seeing a lot of green. I was seeing a lot of water. I was feeling how the air felt. I was looking at different trees. Like if you can get into it and really visualize where you're going and all of the little details and be in that moment.
Yes.
It's going to help you get in that moment faster. So
I agree.
Awesome. Prioritizing your self-care. We've talked about that. Katie, you said no one's going to care. No one's going to do it but you.
Nobody cares more about why you're doing this than you do. So you have to care. So, and we give to everybody else, but we unfortunately have this habit of not giving to ourselves. So it is about starting to put yourself first. And honestly, when you start putting yourself first, you'll find that you have so much more energy to give to others.
Yes.
And so you have to fill your bucket because you can't pour from an empty vessel. So If you're not nurturing and taking care of yourself, then you're no good to anybody else. And if you're in this habit of putting everybody first, then let those people know that you're going to start putting yourself first. I made an announcement to my family. I said, I'm going to be doing this. I'm just letting you know. And now, a year later, I mean, honestly, 3 months to 4 months later, they were used to it. So people get in line with you
There may
taking
be
care of
some
you.
growing pains, right? But setting that up, we'll talk about that during the next session too, of like creating those boundaries, that supportive community, to be able to do this, because it is a priority. Prioritizing your self-care is number one. So treat yourself like, just like one of your beloved children, right?
So
You
make a promise to
matter.
yourself and keep it.
Yeah, and make promises you keep. Love it. So write down, what actions will you turn into habits? You are 1% better every day. You're on the path. You're here. So what actions are you committing to turn into habits today? Just 1% better, good to better, even crappy to less crappy. You're going to have
Right.
solid habits that you start today. So write those down in your own journal work, and write it down in the comments for this class so we can all engage and see what everyone's doing and support each other along the way. Katie, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Today.
This was great.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what people are talking about and what they're saying. And I absolutely reach out if you need support.
Absolutely. We are so here to help you on this journey. That's why we're doing it, is we know sometimes that people just need a little help taking those first steps. So let's talk about it and get it going. So we'll see you guys at the next class. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.